Hey yo, folks, welcome to the channel, and today we're looking at a LEGO Ninjago Dragons Rising set. Today we'll be looking at LEGO set number 71795, the Temple of the Dragon Energy Cores. This set released in 2023 with 1,029 pieces with 6 cool yet inexclusive minifigures, all for the price of $95. Pretty steep, but it's still a cool set. Now, before we get into the review, I want to say initially I was going to review a completely different set. However, last minute before I started recording, I noticed I was missing one important piece. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to postpone that particular set, but don't worry. I will find that piece, and when I do, we will review that set, and I'll let you know which set it is. But in the meantime, why don't we take a look at this really cool set and its cool features as well as cool figures. Let's get to it. Before we start the review properly, I do want to state two things. For starters, I have not watched the newer seasons of Ninjago, or specifically Ninjago Dragons Rising. So if there's stuff I don't understand or get that angers you, I do apologize in advance. Secondly, we're going to do something a little bit different. Rather than looking at the details and such, immediately as we go on, we're going to look at the set itself, and then we're going to focus on the play features and such, and then eventually the minifigures, of course, which... So right off the bat, you could just tell that this set is very tall. I mean, it's not there's plenty of taller sets, but this set is just tall. I mean, it's so tall it doesn't even properly fit my camera setup. I'm having to lift up the tripod just so you can see how tall it is. I could flip the camera at a different angle so that way it could fit, but I imagine there would be black bars on the side, which wouldn't look pleasing. But anyways, before we get to the main build itself, we're going to look at this smaller build, which is a pretty small build. It's nothing too special, nothing to write home about, but it's still nice. You do got this little, weapon here, which does have, the Urakai sword at the top in a pearl gold color, which is real nice. And you can see, unfortunately, there is a sticker on this tile, but you do got some printed headpieces, which do match the symbols on a bell on here, which we will get to, which it's nice to get some lantern pieces. It's a lot like the Lunar New Year sets, which is pretty cool. But anyways, let's focus on the set itself. You can see on the front, it looks real nice. You can see some stickers there on the opening, as well as the doors, which have the Ninjago shurikens there, which I feel like that's been the most consistent piece. It's much like arguably the battle droid of this series, which has little to no changes. I mean, there might have been a couple of pieces changes, but that's been pretty consistent, I believe. But yeah, it's real nice. You see that on the side, it's got a really big tree on the side, which looks real cool. I do love the yellow leaves and the autumn colors, and you do got this little rope with these pieces on there, which are unfortunately stickered, and on the stickers, there's a ton of stickers. I mean, there's not a whole lot, but there are stickers. There's even a sticker in the well. Yeah, that's right. You could just see that. I'm not sure if the water's green or if that's meant to be something in particular, but yeah, that's the well. I do apologize in advance for all the dust and such. I do need to get myself to clean my bricks vacuum so that way my sets aren't so dusty. Again, I apologize for the dust. But anyways, back to the set. You can obviously tell that the set is 4 stories, 5 if you include the rooftop, but yeah, it's a nice 4 stories, which are pretty well. You could see that the third tower does show the dragon core or so, which it does also have a little bridge to a little balcony, which does have a little feature of its own, which is pretty cool. And up top you got a bell. Yeah, that's right, a bell. And you of course got the rooftop with its point up top, which is pretty cool. I do love how it uses the fingers that were used for most of the mechs these days, which is pretty cool to help give the roof its roof feeling, if you will. I'm pretty bad with wording if it wasn't obvious. You got some more lanterns here as well as here, and of course back down just so you get some more. You do got this, which is a printed piece. I'm not sure if this is supposed to say something in particular or just what it's supposed to say. If anyone knows, please let me know. But yeah, you got sticker, 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 lots of stickers. But yeah, these doors can open up with ease. You just push them like so, and then yeah, it's a real nice build, which let's slowly make our way to the back, so that way we can see the details. Whoosh. As you can see, the back is sliced, which is hit or miss, but I do feel like maybe it could have been a little bit bigger and wider, so that way there would have been some more space for minifigures to stand on certain floors, but we'll get more onto that, but you can see how the doors look on the back, which you'd obviously push them up front, or you could do them like this, and that's how you open them. You can see another sticker on top of this doorway, which enters into another area, which does have another sticker, which you can see there's a lot of symbols in that room, which I imagine this is meant to be like a little library, of course, and you do got a little slide here, which is related to a feature which we will look at later, and there's nothing going on special over here, and you can see there's a gear up top, as well as this little stand here, which happens to have a minifigure, and I'll show you why we have that minifigure right there, but let's take the minifigure out to show you what it looks like, which... nothing too special, obviously, but yeah. This does also connect to a side of the tree, which is pretty cool. You do got these, like, sort of barrels. I'm not sure what these are, but these are real nice. It is part of one of our features later, which, thankfully, these are printed. I do love the printing on them. It's real nice. But yeah, you do get 2 of those, which we will show you what they do, and let's raise up. You can get a better look. I imagine this piece right here is meant to be for more minifigure standing spaces, because there's very limited minifigure standing space to begin with. Which you do get the little dragon core type of thing, which I do love, the little shrine or whatever you'd call it, which holds the thing. Which, let's take a closer look at that, just so you can get... oh geez, I didn't realize that did that. But yeah, let's take a look. It connects to the wall, and you do get this piece, which you can just pop it out, like so. Which, I wonder if this has to do with the element of ice, because if you look at the shape, it kind of looks like the ice symbol, but maybe that's just the way it is, and who knows. Still, it's nice. I do love this. I remember seeing a comparison saying that's bigger than the old balls, like the Zammer Spears that was in the Bionicle line, which, that's pretty interesting. I wonder if they'll ever use these again if they ever do revive Lego Bionicle. I would love if they revived Lego Bionicle, because Bionicle is such an amazing franchise. And probably one of my favorite LEGO franchises of all time. Well, maybe one of my tops, but you get what I'm saying, don't you? And you can see the branch from the side, which this is how it connects, as well as a little bit more of that balcony, as well as the bridge, which, let's take a closer look at the bridge, so that way you can see how it's built. The bridge is built from one of those sidebar pieces, which is pretty cool with the way they do it. It's real creative. You can see they're connected by those smaller skeleton arms that are bent, as well as from here with those regular clips, which that's pretty cool. You can see some siding of the roof. It's real nice that they got that there, so yeah. And you can see from the top floor, there's not a whole lot, but you do got the bell, of course. There's a sticker on the front like we saw before. If you haven't, let's turn it again, so that way you can see. Yeah, it does match the symbol on the lanterns, which, let's actually go back to take another look at it, which I do like how it's built to give it a bit of an open look with these open blocks that are introduced with the Lunar New Year's sets, which these are some really cool pieces. And up the top you can see how the bell connects, which it does look kind of awkward from this angle, but at the same time you're mostly going to have this facing forward where it looks like it's a full building rather than a facade. And you of course got the top, which, yeah. Not a whole lot to say there, but yeah, this is really nicely built, and it's just real cool. I do feel like maybe they should have made it a little bit wider, so that way there's more spacing, and that way it's not just completely chopped. I mean, maybe some spaces like the top would be a little bit more open, so that way it's still kind of a triangular shape, but at the same time it's a bit bigger, and you're able to do a lot more with it. But otherwise, this build is pretty cool. You know what makes the build even cooler? The play features it has. Which, why don't we take a look at those play features right now? So let's head back to the front right now. We'll be starting off by looking at the outside of the building and looking at its features. We'll of course look at some basic features, like you've obviously seen that the doors can open up like so. Again, our view from the back, which you can see how that looks. Pretty simple technique. But another thing that we have yet to see, which we'll show you right now, is pay attention to this little branch. It seems pretty wiggly, doesn't it? Well, that's because of a little feature in the back. If you go right to the back, you'd see this little astromech headpiece right here, and then you would simply turn it like so. Then you can have the branch go like so. Almost as if someone's knocking it down, or some sort of magic is being used to block the entrance. Which either way is pretty cool. You can, of course, knock someone down if you want, or whatever you please. But for now, let's take a look at our other main feature for the outside. If you were to go up, you would see the little balcony that we've talked about before next to the bridge. Pay attention to this flag. Yes, that is indeed a sticker, sadly. Now, if you want, you could put a minifigure on there. This doesn't entirely matter, but if you want, now you could put a minifigure on there if you would like, which we'll do this for the sake of the video. But pay attention to this. Let's scooch this set back a bit so you can see what happens once I push this down. You can see that the balcony can fall down. And of course, I'm going to have to look for that minifigure. But yeah, you can have one of the minifigures in here as if they're perhaps dueling and have the balcony fall down, like so. There we go. Now let's take it back and go to the back and show you a little bit more about what's going on back there. Shall we? Now, rather than do this from ground to the top, we're going to go from the top to the bottom. Starting off with a more minor feature, the bell. You could just easily push this around and you can have the bell, of course, ring. Which, of course, it doesn't make like any bell noises, but of course the bricks pushing around, of course, make their noises you can hear. Also helps with this little piece which was introduced with the Ninjago movie line for the bottom of Lloyd's sword. Something I forgot to mention is that you could actually take the top off. How did I miss that out? But now you know. Unfortunately, this can't really be the case for other parts. As you can see, it just doesn't really work out. But yeah, you could take the top of the top floor off. So that way you have a little bit of space to play. That way there's no bell. That way you could have one, maybe two minifigures playing up there. Now let's go down a little bit and pay attention to the second floor. Because the main two features for this part are here. You can see this little gear right here as well as this pin right here. They don't exactly work together, but you can see what they do. As you can see, I have this minifigure on for a reason, because I imagine this is meant to be a statue, and of course with the box and such, it shows this minifigure right here, as if it's a statue, and perhaps it maybe, I don't know, comes to life, like so. It would rise up. You can see how it works. You can see the minifigure fly off, whether it be like some sort of explosion, or perhaps the spirit of the temple coming to life. Now, we're going to look over here. You can see the barrels. You can see the little barrels or whatever they may be right here, which let's adjust the camera so you can see the bottom floor because, yes, that is very important. Now that I have the camera at a decent angle, I'm going to grab another minifigure to help show how this works. Now, this, again, is not necessary, but I feel like it would be best to show with a minifigure. You just simply grab this, and then you pull it, and then that would, of course, knock him down. Of course, since he was on a stud, he won't probably go fly by, because the force of the pieces are not strong enough. Let's see if the pieces are strong enough with our minifigure off of a stud and just on a flat tile. There you go. He does indeed fall. In other words, that works out really, really well. Just another of many cool play features to this set. Of course, you could do your own thing, whether it be like having minifigures standing on certain parts, like on the rooftop pieces here and up top, like so. Like that, or even like this. Just so that way they're fighting, or maybe you can even have them on this piece as if they're sliding down or so, sliding all the way down, even though there's no proper way to have them sliding down as if they're on a zip line. But that's okay, because there's still a lot to play with this set regardless, and I think this is a pretty solid playset build. I mean, yes, it definitely could be a lot bigger, and arguably a lot better, but I think it's pretty good, which we'll get more to that in our outro, but I think it's time to look at one of the more fun parts of the set that isn't the set itself. The minifigures. So why don't we just get straight to it and look at those minifigures now. Starting off with our minifigures, we have Kai, Cole, and Nia, all in their Dragon's Rising ninja outfits, and you can see they all look really cool. I do like their visor pieces, or whatever they may be, in their hoods. You can see the black and yellow eyes, or blue in Nia's case, which have like little detailing, which kind of relates to their elements, although it's a bit rough to see with Kai, who doesn't look so much like flames, but looks more like spikes. However, you got Cole's, who looks like rocks, and Nia's, who looks like water, which goes along with their particular elements of earth and water. You can see their accessories are 2 katanas per ninja, which that's nice to get. Which, let's actually take the robe piece off, so that way you can get a better look at the back, as well as the minifigures themselves. You can see what they... I keep dropping this piece, but you can see what they look like without the hood, and you can see their visor a little bit better. Let me actually take the swords out real quick, so that way we can get a better look at the back. Now that you got their swords out, you could get a little bit of a better look on their back, though I'll be sure to take off their shoulder piece off, so you can get a better look. You can see their alternate expressions, all having confident smiles and smirks, which that's just real nice to get. Now let's actually take the shoulder piece off so you can get a better look at the back of the torso. And as you can see, the back of their torso does have detailing which best represents their respected elements. Kai with fire, Cole with earth, and Nia with water, though it's a little bit odd how it's silverish, which I'm trying to show you as best I can on the camera, because of course there's the glare, and I don't know how to sort out the glare. If you guys know how I can make it so that way there's no glare on the minifigures or so, please let me know, so that way I can improve my videos a little more. I'm trying to learn how I can do my videos a little better, just so that way you guys are able to enjoy it more. But back to the figures, let's take a look at the front, where you could see a better look at their faces without the shoulder pieces. You can see they're all determined. Of course, Kai's got an angry expression, Cole's got a frown, and Nia's got a bit of a smirk, as you can see. But yeah, you can see a better detailing on their torsos, and it all looks real nice. It's really awesome that we're able to get 3 ninja in one set. It gives us half of the OG ninja. All there is Lloyd, Zane, and Jay. And of course there's the newer ninja, Aaron and Sora. But yeah, it's nice that we're able to get these ninja in the set. Even if they may not be exclusive per se, it's still really awesome that we're able to get them in a set together, which would make collecting all the minifigures easier in a way. But yeah, these are just some really cool ninja minifigures, but I think it's time we look at our next minifigures. So why don't we do that right now? Let's go! And for the last of our 3 minifigures, we have Empress Beatrix, Lord Raz, and Spirit of the Temple, which we'll just refer to as the Spirit for the sake of this video, since Spirit of the Temple is a pretty big mouthful. Initially, I thought the Spirit of the Temple was completely exclusive to this set, although I learned according to Brickset, they do come in one of those, like, paper bag type sets. I seriously wonder how you get those sets. I wonder if it's like a regional exclusive thing, or if it's something you can get in the US. But focusing on the review, you can see that everyone except for the Spirit has a weapon, although you could argue with that one weapon at the stand could be a weapon for the Spirit, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say that Spirit has no weapon. But as you can see, Beatrix has this cool molded sword, which is like a futuristic looking sword. There's 2 handles right here, and you could argue this is a handle too, but I feel like these are more handles, because I feel like this is kind of like a lightsaber blade, and it would hurt to realistically touch, but still. It's cool that we get these unique molded swords, although I hope one day maybe we get a more unique dark saber build, but that's for a completely different video. But still, it's nice that we get this really cool weapon. Raz, on the other hand, has a completely brick-built hammer, which, yeah, it's brick-built, but it's kind of cool how it's built. You can see that it uses the roller skate blades for the parts of the hammer and all that, which it's a pretty simple but unique build. But let's stop focusing on the weapons and focus on the minifigures themselves. I just dropped Raz's hammer, but that's okay. Starting off with the 2 main baddies, we've got Beatrix and Raz, which you can see they got the shoulder pads, which is real nice. They've got, their shoulder pads do have a stud on the back, which arguably you could get one of those clipper pieces I don't know the exact name of, but I'll show on the screen, and that way you can have Raz or Beatrix have their weapon on their back. But yeah, let's actually turn around, but first let's pay attention to Raz, who's got this unique molded head. You could just see the detailing on that with the pinkish stripes as well as the silver around his eyes, which, yes, Raz does have arm printing, and we will get to that. It's very rare for Ninjago minifigures to get arm printing, and the only time I can really think of a Ninjago minifigure getting arm printing is that one Bricktober pack, which I did actually get years ago, which maybe one day I'll review that. Who knows? We'll see. But let's take the shoulder pads real quick off. I'm moving Raz's head aside so you can get a better look at the torso, since his goatee sort of blocks it off for the most part, but you could see how well their torsos are done. It's nice to get Beatrix with her mix of black and gunmetal, and Roz does also have a bit of gunmetal in his legs and all that, but with a mixture of dark red, which that's pretty cool. You could get a better look at his arms here. It looks like he's got like a little brassard or armlet. I'm probably using the wrong word, but still, it's nice that he's got those like armbands. You could see more of the pinkish stripes and all that. He's got some pearl gold hands, which is pretty cool. Turning to the back, you could see the back printing of all the minifigures. You could see the spirit's got like some sort of like Ninjago. I believe the language is called Ninjago. I'm not sure what that translates to, but if anyone knows, please comment. But yeah, Beatrix and Raz got their, like, I believe this is like might be the Imperium logo, but I could be wrong. I still haven't watched this show, but the back printing on all the minifigures is really nice, especially the Imperium characters. And you could obviously see a little bit of a flaw with Beatrix, which Beatrix does have a dual-sided face. However, with her short hairpiece, some of it could be revealing unless you like have it at an angle, which I'm not sure if it's right. Which doing it like that would hide the back face sort of, though you could see a little bit of the bottom of it. Oh, the front kind of looks a little bit odd. Although if you have her on her alternate expression, her face will be easier to hide on the back. Which let's actually put it on the front first, and then let's turn to the back. Look at that. You could barely even see it. Maybe a slight line, but that's only if you're eagle-eyed. Well, there's also a little bit right here, but that's... You see what I mean. Raz obviously doesn't have any alternate expression since he's got this molded head, which is really cool if I haven't said already. But anyways, we haven't talked about him, so let's talk about him right now. You could see... Let's take the hood off for the Temple Spirit. You could see he's got that type of look where it's like he's meant to be a statue, where he's just got a straight face. And of course, he got some cracks on him as if he is a statue, but on the back, he looks like he's more alive and infused with magic and all that. You can see there's less black and more green and light green, which is just real nice. It looks really awesome. This minifigure is probably one of the standouts of the set, which is just real cool. Whilst I do wish there was a little bit more uniqueness and exclusivity with these minifigures, I do think these minifigures are just really cool. It's nice that we get all of them in once, which according to the brick set, Beatrix only came in 2 sets, and this is kind of the cheaper, even though I've managed to get both sets, which we'll review that other set another time. But yeah, these are just some really cool figures. It's nice that we get all 3 of them in this set, even if they might not be exclusive per se. But still, these minifigures are just really awesome. Every minifigure, from the Ninja to these guys, is just real cool, and I think they're a pretty fun addition to anyone's collection. But I think it's time we close this video off, so let's get straight to the outro. Even though I have yet to fully watch the Ninjago Dragon's Rising show, I think this set is just really nice. It's nice to get more of these temple-based sets. It's just real cool, and I do like how it's kind of like fused with the tree over there. It's just real nice. Whilst the set is pretty cool, I do feel like at the very least the set should have been a little bit bigger on the inside. Maybe just a little bit more wideness, so that way there would have been a little bit more figure room, as well as maybe perhaps a little bit more play features. And whilst the minifigures aren't exactly exclusive, maybe there could have been a little bit more exclusivity, but regardless, I think the minifigure selection is just amazing. All the figures are just really cool, and it's nice that we get them all in one set. But as the question goes, would I recommend this set? Yeah. Yes, I would. Though, as per usual, I'd recommend getting it for a much cheaper price. Whether it be getting the set as a whole for a cheaper price, or just getting the minifigures, which, if you just want to do that, I totally understand. Especially the Temple Guardian, who's just a really cool minifigure, and probably the standout of the set. But yeah, this is I completely forgot I left this out of this. But yeah, I think this is just a really nice temple set, and I hope we get more sets like this. Maybe bigger and better. But anyways, I think that'll be all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. All that helps. And by the way, even though I usually say this in my video descriptions, if there's a way that I could perhaps improve my videos in one way or another, whether it be doing something in a certain way or so, please let me know. I want to know how I can perhaps maybe do these videos a little bit better to help entertain you guys much more and make these videos a bit more professional in a way. But anyways, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, all that helps. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one!